Who is Berto and what does he do?
My name is Berto, that's me. I'm 32 years old, born and raised in the Chicago suburbs, and I'm the founder of SPKRBX and the Summer Smash Festival.
Tell me a story that shows you in action. What does your day-to-day look like?
Well, my day-to-day nowadays has changed a lot. You know, obviously in the middle of a pandemic, and my company is based on gathering a large group of people. You know, SPKRBX, we do concerts and festivals, and my day-to-day back then was a lot more hectic. My day-to-day now is a lot more slowed down, so it's just been trying to adjust the new way of life that, you know, hopefully is only temporary. We're still, you know, hard at work doing what we do, trying to plan for the future, trying to work on the events that you know we were already putting together. That hasn't really stopped, right? It's usually like we're still working ahead. You know, like if things were to open up tomorrow, we wouldn't have a show, right? You know, we plan out 3 to 6 to 12 months in advance. So we're still doing that. We're working, you know, 6 months in advance from now. And we've done that like a few times over already, right? With it just getting pushed back. So my day-to-day just, you know, waking up, spending a little bit of time with my kids, heading into the office, and then just getting on the computer and cranking out emails, you know, listening to some music, checking out what's going on in, you know, in the digital space, and really just soaking it all in and trying to strategize, you know, for what's ahead.
You're a father. How has that changed your life?
Oh man, it's completely changed my life, 100%. You know, I mean, I think that's like the standard answer you probably get from any parent, but in my perspective, it's just given me a whole new purpose of life. You know, like prior to having children, I used to only think so far ahead, you know, maybe 6, 12 months at max ahead. You know, like I couldn't picture that far into the future. And I feel like having kids is just like, I look ahead, you know, I want to plan for them. I want to give them a better life. So it's just completely changed my purpose. It changed the reason why I do things, changed my motivation. And, you know, it's the most beautiful thing. I think my purpose is to be, you know, a father. And that's really what I feel, you know, since having children.
Tell me about your BMXing days.
Oh shit. All right, since I was really young, I used to play, like, just love BMX biking. I don't know what caught my attention. I don't know if it was like watching it on TV. I just fell in love with riding bikes. I used to do it every day. I used to play soccer, like really be into soccer, and I kind of put soccer off to the side because I just fell in love with riding BMX, and just everything about it, from the rush of landing a new trick, and like it really teaches you a lot of, like, I feel like the core principles that I still use in my day-to-day operations of my business. Things like persistence, you know, like not giving up when things don't go right, you know, trying to learn something new and trying it over and over and over again, you know, 100 times till you get it. And like, I think that just that principle that like riding BMX taught me, I still like all those things I still use, you know, in my day-to-day life. But yeah, I used to ride bikes all the time. I got actually pretty good. I used to ride with a BMX crew. They're named the Gully Factory. Shout out to my friend Tony Maloof, if you're watching this. He started this BMX crew of guys from all over the country. Some guys from the UK. I actually have a Gully Factory tattoo. And you know, he just started a blog, and this is like really early in the blogging days, you know, like, and it was a BMX blog, and he was, you know, shooting and editing videos like way before, you know, like iMovie and stuff came out, when it was a little bit more difficult, and he kind of, he used to film on tape. GL1, Canon GL1s. Have you guys ever heard of those? They're like old school tape, yeah, but like that's what we were filming on. And yeah, man, I was riding BMX, got really good, did it all through college. If you look up Berto Solorio on YouTube, you find some dope clips of me. I still try to get on my bike once in a while. My body can't take it as good anymore, one, and it's just when I look back at some of the stuff that I used to do, I'm just like, man, I can't believe I would even try that stuff, because it just seems so scary and dangerous now.
How did you get into music?
You know, I've always had a passion for music, just naturally. I come from a really musical family. Both my uncles were in touring bands, Mexican touring bands back in the day. My uncle, like, his band played on Johnny Canales, which is like the equivalent to like late night Jimmy Fallon or something, you know. My uncle was a drummer. He was also in a touring band. And so like just seeing them and how, you know, their passion for music, and then music itself just resonating with me, is just something that I wanted to get involved in, but I have like zero musical talent whatsoever, like no rhythm. But so I decided just to get involved in any way I could. And then through college, I started bartending at my cousin's venue. He used to own a music venue here in Chicago, and I was kind of just coming home on the weekends to make money, make a couple $100, drive back to drive back to college, which was a couple hours south. And, I started kind of just wanting to get more involved. And after I graduated school, he kind of took me under his wing and, had me just do everyday tasks, whatever it was, drive him around, take him to meetings, et cetera, et cetera. Then eventually I started getting more involved, started giving me more and more tasks. And I really kind of learned the groundwork of the business then. And this is around 2010 to 2013. And then from there, he ended up selling his venue. And I went to go work at a smaller venue. It's called Portage Theater. And they didn't really have any sort of organization or structure yet in terms of in-house promoters or in-house talent buyers and stuff. And I had kind of already saw how all the other guys were doing it. And so I had a passion for hip hop, which at the time wasn't nowhere near as popular as it is now. It's really at the start of the SoundCloud movement. And, I kind of wanted to just give it a try. And, my first show was Sesh Hall Waterboys in 2014. And I think we had 100 people in a 1,200 person room. So it looked emptier than this right here,
How did SPKRBX?
In 2014, when I wanted to give it a try. It's crazy that you actually asked about the BMX, because it all kind of ties in. My friend Tony Maloof, who started the BMX crew that I was in, actually was going out to LA a lot to film a lot of BMX videos with different riders and stuff, and just going out there to ride skate parks and film and stuff for his sponsors. And he actually met Xavier Wolf out there, and Xavier used to he still tries sometimes, but he used to ride BMX a lot. He was really about it. And Tony kind of connected with him and started a relationship with him. And then Tony came back and we were working together on doing a BMX jam, a Gully Factory BMX jam. And he knew I worked at the venues and stuff. And then he ended up connecting me with their tour manager, because they were looking to go on tour and come into Chicago. And so the BMX relationship is really what kind of garnered my first relationship with Xavier's camp. And shout out to Elliot O'Connor, who's Bones' older brother and manager, who gave me a shot of taking on that first tour date. Like I said, I wanted to give a crack at it. We did that show at Portage Theater. I was looking for a name, and I really like old school boom boxes, old school sound systems, giant woofers and subs, So I wanted to name it something like Boombox something, and it just wasn't rolling off the tongue right. So I ended up going with SPKRBX, same realm, and at the same time it was also kind of an ode to the SPKRBX Love Below album by Outkast, which is one of my favorite albums. So at first we did it SPKRBX spelled all the way out, and then a couple shows in after we started, we dropped all the vowels and got where we are today.
What's the story behind the Berto Solorio?
Yeah, so we were doing shows since 2014, and Cole, who's a really great friend of mine and obviously a business partner, was starting Lyrical Lemonade. I think they started Lyrical Lemonade in 2013. And he was also doing, some events around the city. And I think it was in 2016 was our first collaboration. We were both trying to book a Made in Tokyo show. This is right when Uber Everywhere was super hot. And we ended up just, instead of trying to compete for the act and trying to compete for the show, we ended up just collaborating together and having the show at Portage Theater, which is where I was working at the time. And that was our first event. It was actually called Lyrical Lemonade Summer Bash. We did that show. It was Made in Tokyo, Royce Rizzi, Famous Dex, Warhol, and a couple others. But it went great. We ended up having a really good synergy. There was a lot of things of the live event side that I had a lot of great experience in. He had a lot of great relationships and a really good eye for branding. We had our first show, and we really liked how it went as far as the collaboration, and then we just kept working from there. The following year we did the Summer Bash again at Portage Theater again, and again it was a successful event. And then eventually, just from my prior experience with working at the venues where I had seen festivals like Riot Fest or Spring Awakening, start as actual indoor events, I kind of had that foresight, and I kind of knew what was coming. I saw that the demand was so high, and I really saw the burgeoning and bubbling of the hip hop scene, especially all these independent underground artists really taking off and making noise all over the country without radio, without labels, as it hadn't really been done prior to the internet. So trying to make something happen in 2017, I was looking for a venue or park and permits and stuff, and things kind of fell through. But in early 2018, I was able to secure a venue, which is Douglas Park, and you know, I just approached Cole and I was like, yo, I think it's time we, you know, we take this outdoors, and he was all about it, and you know, the rest is history.
So can we expect the Summer Smash time
You know, it's really up in the air. I would say 50-50 chance. We have all the things lined up, you know, in terms of acts, headliners, you know, our stages, our site map, you know, our venue dates. Everything's lined up, and if, you know, powers that be give us a green light, we can move forward, but you know, we're kind of at their mercy. So right now, I mean, honestly, truthfully, I would put it at a 50-50 chance.
So how does someone get on your radar to go on stage at the lyric stage?
The booking is a conglomerate of our team, you know, both on the SPKRBX side and the Lyrical Lemonade side. We both bring our ideas to the table of the different artists that we like, and kind of come up with a, you know, foundation of a lineup, and we kind of just all run through it of the different acts. But specifically, it can be any number of ways. I might catch your song on the internet, I might catch your song on a blog, I might see your Clark Street Collective interview. I might meet you at a show. You know, honestly, like, one thing I'm a really big proponent of is just really meeting people in person and you know, making that personal connection. You know, I mean, sending a DM on Instagram or something like that and being like, hey, I want to be on the festival lineup is not going to be nowhere near as effective as, you know, you came up to me at one of the shows, or if you saw me at Starbucks or something, or like, hey, my name is so-and-so, check out my music, you know. And it's just something about that genuine connection that really drives someone to want to dig into your catalog more and look into the artist that you are. And so for me, it's just really about the quality of the music. I don't really care if you know, at the end of the day, if you have 0 followers or 10,000, if you got great music, you know, there's definitely room for you on our festival.
So what has SPKRBX been up to since the beginning of
a lot of, I wouldn't say restructuring, but more so like repositioning. You know, I think things were moving so fast, you know, like you kind of get on that treadmill and there's a show after show and event after event, and it's nice to have a pause and really take a step back and look at things like, how can I improve? How can I improve these processes? What can we do better? What did we lack before? And I feel like this is like one of the only chances we'll probably ever get to be able to stop, you know, completely stop and be able to move the different pieces around and change things the way that we can right now. But since then, we've just been trying to like diversify a little bit. We've been working on building out a studio. We've also done a little bit of production stuff for some live streams. I manage an artist by the name of Bennett. And so like the SPKRBX side of things, we produced a live stream, a pre-recorded set for her. We also did a couple drive-ins with the guys over at Autos Bliss. They did a makeshift, or a pop-up drive-in venue over on Lake Michigan. So we did a couple of those shows, and really, like I said, we just been working ahead, and like the work hasn't stopped. So that's kind of been like the bummer about it. We've been working on all these shows. You know, we had shows lined up for this March and April. You know, obviously they're not going to happen, but you know, 3 or 4 months ago, we were working on those, and they get pushed to the fall. And the work hasn't stopped. It's just the actual events have.
Tell me about the studio here. Building out, or is it?
Yeah, it's basically built out. So we've had this space. It's out in Barrington. You know, it's about 30 minutes northwest of the city. We've had this space with the venue partners that we work with, Zenith Music Group. They own a couple of venues that we do a lot of our shows in. They've had this studio for a couple of years now, and it's really, really nice. It's fully built out, but it never had any recording equipment. So like they would kind of just use it as like a makeshift like creative space, but it had like no recording equipment. And so with the extra time, I was kind of like, yo, this studio is just way too nice of a studio to not like be functioning like a studio. So I ended up getting a lot of the equipment for it. You know, it's up and running now. We haven't really like opened it to the public, and I don't really know how we're gonna utilize it as far as like opening it up as like a public studio, or if we're more so we're just gonna kind of bring it into the fold into the like the network of things that we have going on. Maybe different artists who come into town for our shows utilize the studio. Maybe some of the artists that I work with or I'm starting to work with need to utilize the studio. I mean, that's fully not figured out yet, but you know, just slowly trying to like diversify and, plant different seeds in different places that don't fully rely on, the gathering of thousands of people.
You deal with a lot of artists through SpeakerBox. Is there an artist that ever gave you a hard time? You want to share a story? You don't have to say a name or anything. Is there a funny story behind it?
I wouldn't say gave us a hard time specifically. I think this is a funny story. So go back to 2017, we had the second Lyrical Lemonade Summer Bash. And I think it was like Ugly God was the headliner, Famous Dex was on it, and Ski Mask, the Slum God, was on it. The day of the show, Ski Mask team contacted us and let us know that he wasn't gonna be able to make because he wasn't able to get onto the plane. He didn't have an ID. He had recently just moved from Florida to New York City. I mean, there's nothing we could do, right? So what we ended up doing was we announced that he wasn't gonna be able to make it, but we were going to do a makeup show the following week, and that anyone with tickets to the Summer Bash would be able to come to that show for free. Ski Mask team had, said, yo, by next week we should be fine. We'll be able to get an ID. We'll be all good. Go ahead and announce the show. The show was like on a Wednesday. Come around, I think it was Monday, they hit us up like, hey, we still haven't been able to get an ID. Like, we haven't been able to get the stuff from Florida that we need to get a New York ID. Like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to make this show. And like, by this time, it's like, we had already canceled it. This is the makeup. Like, we can't cancel the makeup, like, it just would have been not a good look. I called Cole and I was like, yo, like, I don't know what you're doing tomorrow, but like, we have to go get Ski Mask. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, all right, let's get flights. So we literally Tuesday night flew to New York, rented a truck, like went to Ski Mask, like apartment in like Times Square, picked them up, drove. Me, Cole, and Ski Mask drove 14 hours straight back to Illinois, made it back on Wednesday at like 3 p.m. And the doors were at 6. Ski Mask made it to the show. And needless to say, I felt like it was like Get Him to the Greek. Have you ever seen that movie? Where we have to go get him. Like that's what it felt like. And it was an awesome experience. I still think about it all the time. I mean, like, Ski Mask was like awesome to ride back with. He literally didn't sleep the whole time. Like, we left New York at like 11 p.m. He didn't sleep the whole time. Like, everyone else in the car was like passing out. Like, me and Cole were taking turns driving, but like, he didn't sleep the whole time. And I swear he freestyled the entire way. Like the entire way. It was awesome. But like, that's one of my favorite stories for sure, with a little bit of trouble. But it wasn't like, it's not that he gave me the trouble, it's just the situation.
You've been managing an artist, Bennett.
Yeah.
Tell me about how did that come to be?
Yeah, so I've been managing Bennett for, wow, it's gonna be 2.5 years, I think, since October of 2018. It was just Instagram. She followed me randomly on Instagram. I checked on her page and something just made me click on her song, and it was a link to her song called Never Yours. It's actually the first song she ever wrote and recorded ever. I heard it and I was just like, wow, this girl's amazing. Like, her voice is amazing, the song's amazing. And I just, I hit her back and I was like, yo, your music is really good. Like, keep going, dope, thanks for the follow. And we kind of just kept going back and forth over the next few months, communicating here and there. And I had always wanted to manage an artist, just because I feel like there's so much crossover between, the live event production and the relationships and the things that, you do every day to day, like producing events, like resources that could really be beneficial to another artist. So I've always like wanted to manage an artist and diversify into that, but I had never ever found the right one. And so I kind of just started thinking about it more and more. And I reached out to her. I was like, hey, like, why don't you do a video, or why don't you do this, or why don't you do that? And she was just kind of like, well, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. She was just an 18-year-old girl from Connecticut. And she was like, I don't have a manager. I don't know how to do any of that stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of like, you know what? I think I can help you. Like, I think I have some resources that can help you. I think you should come out here. And I bought her a flight to come out to Chicago, and she took the chance and came out here. And I just really wanted to see how we would vibe and how, if we get along, like, I wanted to see what our personalities, if they vibe well together, I wanted to be friends before I started the business relationship. And so she came out here and we got along great. She's such a cool girl, like super quirky, super funny. And from there, I just proposed the idea. I was like, I think I want to be your manager. And, she was about it. And we both had the same vision and kind of just took it from there.
And she signed, right?
Yeah, she signed to Atlantic Records, which is crazy. I started managing her in October of 2018, and her friend had actually sent that Never Your Song, the same song I heard, had emailed it to Orlando Wharton, who's an A&R at Atlantic. He's got a really good list of signings. He signed like Kodak Black, he signed like A Boogie with a Hoodie, PNB Rock. He's a pretty big A&R, and so he heard the song and like I guess instantly he was like, you know, interested. And so when I came into the picture, the Atlantic conversation kind of restarted from her friend just sending that song, and I kind of just picked up the torch from there and kind of just, you know, helped navigate through the deal. And she ended up signing the following May in 2019, which is crazy because she had wrote and recorded her first song in April of 2018, which was Never Yours, and you know, just a year later she was signed at Atlantic. So it was a very unorthodox path to a major label, because she also didn't have, you know, very many players or followers and stuff. But I mean, they saw what I saw, you know, there's just an incredible voice with incredible range, incredible tone, and you know, she writes a lot of her own stuff. She's just really talented.
SPKRBX, you guys did a toy drive in December.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, the turnout, and do you plan on doing it to the community?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've been doing that toy drive for 4 years now. It was usually like a private toy drive. So basically what I would do is I would get a venue and get some food and drinks and just invite like all of my friends. And it was like a open invite, but you just kind of had to like get the invite kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I wouldn't post it on like our SPKRBX socials and stuff. I would post it on my like personal page and like say like DM for address and stuff like that. But so the years prior, I would just have this event with free food and drinks, and I would say, you know, entry is a toy. For first year we raised like 100 toys. The following year we did 200. And so with the pandemic, this past year I was gonna do an event. So I was like, you know, I still want to do the toy drive and give back to the community. So I ended up making like a public thing, and we ended up doing like a drive-by toy drive. So basically we did it at Avondale Music Hall. People could just pull up, drop off a toy. I had a bunch of drawstring Lyrical Lemonade merch bags that we had left over from the festival that we were giving out to anyone who dropped off a toy. And then Sam from Half Evil donated like a huge box of like t-shirts that were like, I think they weren't misprints, they were just printed the wrong color, like, so they weren't the color that he wanted, but the t-shirts were like perfectly fine and brand new, all wrapped. And he gave me like, I swear, like 100 or maybe more. It was a lot. And so we kind of used that to like try to get people to come and drop off toys and like, you know, trade it off. And so we gave everyone, they gave a toy, a bag and a shirt, and we ended up raising a couple hundred toys, and we distributed them in the wards adjacent to Douglas Park, you know, which is where our festival resides. Yeah, man, I mean, we want to continue to keep doing that toy drive. I think now that we've opened it up to the public and people are aware of it, I think we're going to keep it public. So, you know, hopefully this year we'll be able to actually gather in person, maybe, you know, turn it into something bigger, maybe actually get some decent talent, turn into like a full show with like, you know, toy drive entry. I don't know, just kind of primitive thoughts on that. And yeah, I mean, like that was one of the things that's kind of like have some retrospect in, is just looking back and thinking of different ways I can give back to the community more. Besides the toy drive, we do like monthly cleanups when the weather permits at the park. We've just been trying to like coordinate with the Alderman's office to see any way we can, you know, make a positive impact in those neighborhoods, because we do reside in that park, and that, you know, we consider that park our home as well. So, you know, we're trying to give back as much as possible.
What are your plans going on? What's going on with SPKRBX after this pandemic?
After this pandemic, I think, you know, like I said, we've been doing a lot of like self-analyzation, and we want to continue what we're doing, just give quality shows to Chicago, but also, you know, we want to possibly expand to different markets. You know, I think it's time that we try to do some shows outside of Chicago and really just hone in on our creative drive and really try to, you know, do more things within the industry, you know, whether it's growing out more of a management roster, whether it's operating that studio, just getting creative with any way we can. At the end of the day, like our heart lives in live events, and that's what we'll always do. And, you know, that's my calling. I feel like, you know, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, I don't, when I wake up and I go to work, it's not work. Like for me, it's like, it's what I love to do. And even if, you know, we didn't have success, I would still be doing it. You know, I think after the pandemic, it's just getting back to work like how we were before, but really just coming at it and approaching it in a bigger perspective, as opposed to, you know, not narrow, but it was like, you know what I mean? It was very one track, you know what I mean? It was just live events. I want to expand outside of that. Follow me at Berto Solo and at SpeakerBox Presents on both Instagram, Twitter, speakerbox.com, summersmash.com. Follow the Summer Smash as well. Hopefully we'll see you out at the venue soon.